The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
By tomorrow, I will rule the world!
You think he's gone? He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Is this some radical new therapy?
You see?
Well, I must have not been paying attention when you were just talking to me.
That never gets old. You think he's gone? He's not gone. You know what that's from, by the way? Oh, you can't ask you. You can't. We have, we let it play a little bit. We're going to coach him on the air. Intern girl had an issue. She couldn't make it. We got the show shared. So it's not the same without intern girl because we can't like banter back and forth and talk about the election results. Gotta get my sponsors ready. We're a half an hour late because Facebook has an outage somewhere, and it did affect us for about a half an hour, but we are up. Now, of course, I had my. You got all the pictures that I sent you? Okay. Intern boy's not allowed to talk on the air. It's not the same. You're doing a good job. I'm not saying you're not, but I'm used to like chatting with intern girl, who is watching remotely. I want Baba Buzz out of everybody except for intern boy. I didn't hear any Baba Buzz out of Patricia. All that help I gave you, I can't get a Baba Bar out of you. All right, see how she is. The election's over now. You can't get anything out of them. All right, I think we should just start the show. Just get through this. I was really looking forward to the show today. Now I just feel like I want to get to it. Hi, how you guys doing? My name is Tom Duggan with the Paying Attention Podcast. Boy, Mike Samad's really going to hate the show. And that's what makes me love it even more on the Paying Attention Podcast. High atop the Golden Seal Apothecary here in the in downtown North Andover. Intern boy, is the Golden Seal Apothecary still open? They are open, okay. Because last week when I came in for the debate, I was going to get everybody strawberry shakes, all the candidates. And I went down, and all the shelves were empty, and the door was locked, and it was locked. Usually they don't close till 5 or 6, but this is a lot earlier. So I thought maybe they went out of business, but I'm glad they didn't. Listen, I'm pulling for them. If you can put the word apothecary in the name of your business, then you need all the help that you can get, and Tom Duggan is here to help. Intern girl says turn the music off. She can still hear it in the background, I guess. All right, let's get to our sponsors. Century 21 McLennan Real Estate. We're going to have Matt McLennan in now that the election's over. I think maybe in the next couple of weeks, going to talk about the real estate situation here in the Merrimack Valley, and he's always a really good indicator of what's coming for real estate. The Zanny Pesh Law Office, I was told by the sexiest woman alive, Jana Zanny Pesh, during the debate that's how I'm supposed to say it. Marsan and Son Construction, EIS, Investigation and Gun Training. Tomo and Shaken Seafood. Do you want to go to Tomo? No, we can't go to Tomo. It's too far away. I'd love to. We need to schedule a night at Tomo, though. Do you like sushi?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Clear Path for Veterans, New England, AFC Urgent Care. We are also due for Zaka from AFC Urgent Care to be on the program. Pleasant Valley Landscaping Contractors. We have not heard from Dave Consoli. W3O and Prime Insurance, the Doug Mercurio Law Office. He had the funniest joke I've seen all year, and I'm going to try and remember what it was. It had something to do with some people were caught stealing lobster out of Market Basket. Did you hear this? That in Market Basket, a couple women were caught stealing lobster, and that's because the economy is so bad that they couldn't steal them from Stop and Shop. I think that's what he said, but I probably screwed it up. W3ON website design, David D. Natale, who actually does all of the web hosting and all the stuff on the Valley Patriot website. JG's Ice Cream and Free shout out to the Jafrida brothers, who I didn't see during the campaign. And normally I run into those guys during the campaign. Normally they're kind of like lingering in one of the, I thought maybe I'd see them at the Jane Zani Pesci fundraiser at the Irish Cottage, which has been, by the way, for 21 years an advertiser in the Valley Patriot. But I thought I'd see him, and I didn't. See them, and I didn't. Trying to rush, so I'm making mistakes. A free shout out to Paul Lambert at Lambert and Randone, who's been advertising with us. I believe from the first year. I could be wrong. Maybe it was the second year that Paul started with us. Also, a free shout out to Marie Thibodeau at Total Mortgage. What else do we have? All the candidates are out. I want to make sure I got everybody. We got Clear Path. And we got, an on-the-go notary. For some reason, it's on the list, but it's like I have to scroll down for that one line for some reason. So on-the-go notary, if you need a notary, if you're a lawyer, if you're a constable, if you work in a court somewhere and you need a notary, they do really good work over there. All right, so intern boy, do you have the graphics that I emailed you? And you have them in order. So we had our elections here in the Lawrence, Merrimack Valley area, Lawrence, Methuen, Haverhill. We didn't really cover much of Haverhill. There wasn't really much going on in Haverhill. And I really wanted to have Brandon Burns on, who ran, young kid, I think he's like 22 or 23, ran for mayor. I had lunch with him at Sevmar one day. I promised I'd help him. And then everything in Lawrence and Methuen just got so flippin' crazy that I never got back to him. So I know I at least owe him dinner. I think he picked up dinner at Sevmar, and he picked up dinner thinking I was going to help him, and I never got a chance to help him. I always feel bad when I want to give somebody some help, a candidate that needs the help and that could use it, and then because I'm stretched so thin that sometimes it just doesn't happen. So I apologize for that. Brandon and his father, Duncan, has been writing for us at least 15 years. Really good guy, although a couple times I think he almost got me on the terrorist watch list because he likes to go on Facebook and say some pretty explosive things to elected officials, especially Democrats. And so people will time me in him because he writes for us once in a while. All right, so in Lawrence, in Methuen, we had quite the election. I have to tell you, going into Election Day, I was convinced that Brian DePena was probably going to lose. And do you want to know any of this Lawrence stuff, or do you want to stay out of the Lawrence stuff, Patricia?
It's up to you.
All right, okay.
Yeah, it's your show.
I just feel like I have nobody to chat with since intern girl's not with us.
Okay.
I keep looking down at my phone because she's producing remotely, by the way. She's giving us advice. So I was under the impression, and I've been following these elections my whole life, and I really went into Election Day thinking Brian was probably down about 500 votes. And I was hearing all of the hubbub, all of the haters, and I have to admit some of it got in. I usually have a Teflon wall around my brain that when all the crazy, hateful people during an election start spreading all their bullshit, and what happens is it becomes an echo chamber. They tell stories online, they tell stories at fundraisers that then make their way through the community and make it back to me through third-party, fourth-party, fifth-party people who aren't the ones who started it. And then you start to think it might be true because you're hearing it from different sources, right? And because there's so many candidates and so many volunteers that are going to so many different events, there's a lot of crossover of all the rumors that are going around. So you had the Julissa Nunez out there who doxes police officers and defended a pedophile on Facebook while she's attacking other people. You had the Dan Guzmans of the world, and you had the Altagracia Machis of the world personally attacking the mayor and his family and predicting doom for them. And after a while, I started to see some signs that Brian might be in trouble. In fact, I can tell you that Brian DePena, at least about a week and a half before the election, was in trouble. And one of the things that started the cascade for him in the wrong direction, I think he would have won by a lot more had this not happened, but he got endorsed by a whole bunch of people who were prominent in the community. They were congressmen and senators and the district attorney and a whole bunch of other people. But then when the hateful losers started accusing Brian of stealing votes, when we all know, by the way, in full disclosure, we all know that right now, while this show is podcasting, 2 days after the November election, so it's 4 today must be the 6th, right? Am I right about that? Yes. Fidelina Santiago, who should be sitting at a city council meeting tonight, is sitting in a prison cell because she committed voter fraud against the mayor. She committed voter fraud to get on the Lawrence City Council as a hater of Brian DePina. So as far as we know now, the only person who's been convicted, the only proof we have of voter fraud taking place are people who hated Brian DePina, not people campaigning for him. And somehow, even though Brian asked the state to come in and oversee the elections back in July, it was on the front page of the July Valley Patriot, by the way, they were able to flip the narrative. They were able to flip the narrative with all these rumors that there was, during the primary, a lot of Brian DePina supporters were stealing votes and ballot harvesting and paying people for ballots. And there were videos of this and videos of that. And after a while, even a guy like me, even someone that lives and breathes this stuff, even someone like me that's been doing this literally since 1985, for 40 years I've been doing this. I've been involved in literally every election intimately, either as a candidate, as a supporter, as a campaign manager, or as a member of the press covering the election. I've been involved intimately in every single election in Lawrence going back to 85, actually sooner, but 85 is the year that I ran because I was a high school senior. And even I got fooled. Even I got roped into it. Even I started to believe that, you have all these people making all these allegations. Some of it's got to be true. Like, there's just no way, like, just a pattern of human behavior. Some of it has to be true because you're hearing it everywhere you go. You go to Market Basket and you go to City Hall and I would go to TMF and people would show up, and people that showed up with food to feed the homeless were like, hey, did you hear about Brian DePina stealing votes? And so after a while, you start to think maybe there's something there. And the people that were accusing Brian DePina of stealing votes were very effective at what they were. The propaganda that they were spreading was very, very effective. And because it was very effective, you want to know who the biggest loser was on Tuesday? It wasn't Juan Manny Gonzalez. It wasn't even Julissa Nunez or Altagracia Maggi or that loser, what's his name, John D'Amico, or Debo Brown, who's up on charges for beating his wife. All the people that hated Brian DePina, all the people that were like, any day now, they're going to drag him off in handcuffs any day. It wasn't any of those people. You know who the biggest loser in this election was? It was Essex County District Attorney Paul Tucker and Essex County Sheriff Kevin Coppinger, who the minute that the state said they were going to come in and oversee the election because of allegations of voter fraud in Lawrence, both those gentlemen, who, by the way, they're in law enforcement. It's kind of their gig. It's kind of their thing that people are innocent until proven guilty. Like, am I wrong about this? You're the Essex County District Attorney, and your job, your whole thing, your whole gig, your whole shtick is innocent until proven guilty. You're in law enforcement. And the day that the state announced they were coming in to oversee the election because of allegations of voter fraud, he withdrew his endorsement for Brian DePina. And he's kind of squishy. Listen, I like Kevin Coppinger. He comes to our bash every year. I like him. We've actually had a lot of really good interactions over the years, but very squishy when it comes to this stuff. Like, these guys love cutting ribbons. They love getting their name in the paper. But the minute anything might be controversial, they run for the hills, and Kevin Coppinger removed his. Now, he's only a sheriff, so it's not like he's going to prosecute the case. He has no conflict of interest one way or the other. But he ran away, too. Paul Tucker ran away. I spoke with one of them. I'm not going to say which one because it was off the record. And I said to them, listen, Juan Manny Gonzalez is my friend. Brian's my friend. But here's my problem with what you guys did. My problem is it's only an allegation. What if Brian loses that election by 100 votes and it comes out after the election that it was the other side cheating? Boy, you'd feel pretty bad, wouldn't you? And the person I spoke to said, and I spoke to one of them, it was either Kevin or the DA, said, you're right. And he said, well, what do you want me to do about it? I said, well, here's what I'd like you to do. Out of fairness, and by the way, he never did it. Shame on you, but he never did it. I said, here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to be fair. Since it's only an allegation, why don't you issue a press release that you're recusing yourself because you may have to be involved in prosecuting a case down the line for supporters of either Brian or Manny, and because you endorse someone in that race, you have to recuse yourself, but you recusing yourself is not an indictment on Brian DePina. It just means that you kind of have to stay neutral, so you're backing off. Because the people that hate Brian, the minute Coppinger and Tucker withdrew their endorsement, They ran on Facebook, and for a week, the propaganda was, see, this is proof Brian stole votes. Look, the DA, he removed his endorsement. Now, I'm 58 years old. I've never seen anybody remove an endorsement. I've never seen anybody give an endorsement and then take it back. It's probably happened, but I don't ever remember it happening. So I like Paul Tucker. I think he made a very serious mistake. I get why he did it, but then he could have fixed it, and he didn't. And I get almost get why Kevin Coppinger did it. I think they got a lot of pressure from a lot of very high-up Democrats who don't like Brian because of his position on ICE and immigration. So I really believed going into this that Brian was probably down about 500 votes because the damage done by Tucker and Coppinger rescinding their endorsement of the mayor did a lot of damage, huge damage. And on election day, I was at the Frost School twice. There was a line out the door. I haven't seen that since 2009. Haven't seen that since 2009 because in 2009, Dave Abdu ran against Willie Lantigua, and Dave Abdu lives in Mount Vernon, and the Frost School is where the people in Mount Vernon live. That was the last time I saw that many people in Mount Vernon voting. Saw a lot of white people. I didn't realize there were that many white people still left in Lawrence. And when I saw that, I thought, I ran into Bobby Sheehan, who went in to vote, I think at the Timney School in Methuen later on in the evening, and he said, how do you think Brian's doing? And I said, honestly, I think he's in trouble. It's the first time I've been wrong in probably 30 years about predicting an election because the week before the election, 2 weeks before the election, I predicted Brian was going to win by 500 votes. And on election day, I was predicting he was probably going to lose by 500 votes. Well, let's pull up those numbers. Let's see how he did. Intern boy, wow, look at that. Now, is there any way you could keep that on the screen and have me behind it? Is that possible? Like, if you can't, that's fine. But I hate that, like, people are just staring at numbers because I'm a pretty animated person when I'm talking. I can fix my chair while this is going on, too. Look at these numbers. This is crazy. And by the way, this is not only crazy because you've got an 872 difference at the end, but these are the preliminary numbers. We don't have the final numbers, but my understanding is that Brian won by over 1,200 votes when all the mail-in and absentee ballots and all the provisional ballots were all counted. When all of that was done, this number is not 872. It's actually closer to 1,200, maybe even a little bit more. So let's go through these. District A, that's Prospect Hill. That's where Fidelina Santiago served. She's in jail right now for stealing ballots. She's the one that was by the way, the fifth vote on the city council against everything Brian wanted. And every single member of those city councilors, every one of them, sat there and said nothing for 2 years, knowing that she stole that seat. And when she got arrested, they said nothing. When she got indicted, they said nothing. When she was convicted, they said nothing. And then when she was sentenced, they said nothing. She represented District A, that's Prospect Hill. So you had two, I'm going to get to those in a minute, but we had two newcomers running. Not really newcomers. Franklin Miguel had run a bunch of times. Lissy Rivas had never run before. You had no incumbent in that race. It was pretty close on Prospect Hill. You had 966 to 824, a little bit more than maybe I'm doing math in my head now. You're going to remember I went to Lawrence High. It's not going to be perfect. We're looking at maybe about 142 votes, maybe, in District A. That's pretty close. I think that's maybe that might be the closest of any. Well, no, looks like F might be a little bit closer.
142.
142. Thank you, Patricia. District B, Brian DePina wins again. That's a pretty big disparity. 1,230 to 766. And you're going to see in a second why that's significant. And the reason that that's significant, and maybe I can pull it up on my screen so I can actually just read it off to you, because I really want to compare these two numbers. I have a Nick folder here. Hold on. A and B. All right. Here's why that's significant. In District B, and we're going to get to this in 1 second, you're going to see it on the screen, but I have it here in front of me. In District B, Wendy Luzon, the district councilor, was defeated by 12 votes in District B. Nobody in the city of Lawrence, not Julissa Nunez, no, the one that I'm looking at is, I want to keep the mayor's one up if we can, but I don't know if you can put them side by side. The one that's numbered 01 mayor and 03 A and B. If you can pull those up together, that'd be great. If you can't, that's fine. But the numbers in the District B race, Rosalie Gonzalez 943 to Wendy Luzon, 931. That means in District B, there was a significant number of people that voted for Wendy Luzon, who hates the mayor and campaigned against the mayor. There you go. All right, so here's your District B. Look at the one at the bottom. Rosalie Gonzalez, 943. Wendy Luzon, 931. There's a 12-vote difference between those two, but Wendy Luzon, 931. Let's go back to those mayor's numbers again real quick. 931, 766. That means about 200 and maybe 30 people, again, I'm just doing the math in my head, about 200 people, a little bit more than 200 people, voted for Wendy Luzon, who hates the mayor, who spent her entire 2 years hating the mayor.
464.
464. Really? Wow. Hating the mayor. And yet there's a significant number of people who voted for Wendy Luzon who've also voted for Brian DePina. And so if you want to look for a canary in the coal mine, a bellwether in Lawrence that shows you the popularity of Brian DePina and the support that Brian DePina had despite all the attacks on his family, all the attacks on his integrity, all the Debo Brown Facebook posts, this time we've really got him, this time we've got documents. That guy was photoshopping city documents and posting them on Facebook and making it look like any minute the feds were going to drag Brian off in handcuffs because Brian wouldn't rehire him back for a city job. Same thing with Sarah Perez. Same thing with Jilson Nunez. So that District B race really, and I said late in the day, people were calling me saying, when the numbers come in, how do we know where it's going to go? How do we know what's the bellwether? What's the the phrase canary in a coal mine in the early 1900s when coal miners would go into a coal mine to mine coal, obviously. They would bring a canary in a cage with them because if gas escaped that you couldn't smell, that a lot of coal miners would get killed from the gases that got released from doing the mining. But if the canary died first, they knew that there was toxic gases and they would leave. It would save their life. So the phrase canary in a coal mine. What is it that gives us an indication that something's going on? And I said District B. If Brian comes out of District B with some big numbers, then he probably wins. And look at that. I mean, that's just huge. Then in District C, you've got Gregory Del Rosario is the incumbent city councilor in District C. He's pro-Brian. He's been with Brian for a long time. No, you can just leave it on the mayor's. Sorry, intern boy. And look at that, 1,063 to 630. You're talking about 433 votes between Brian DePina and Juan Manny Gonzalez, who, by the way, ran a great campaign. The sad thing about Juan Manny Gonzalez and the campaign that he ran, he's a classy man. He's a good, decent, honest man. He's a hero firefighter. He cares about people. But the people that were supporting him were scum. The people that were supporting him were not supporting him. They were campaigning against Brian. Because if Juan Manny Gonzalez was anybody else, if it was Willie Lantigua, if it was Brian DePina, if it was Dan Rivera, if it was anybody else, Sandy Almonte, I'm just randomly naming people. If it was anybody else running against Brian, those numbers would be exactly the same. The people that voted for Manny were not voting for Manny, they were voting against Brian. Because people in Lawrence either love Brian or they hate Brian, and these numbers show you that the majority of the voters that show up at the polls love Brian. And let me say one more thing before we move on in these numbers, and then we're going to get to my guest because we have a few more numbers to get to. And that's this. I saw Altagracia Maggi on Facebook yesterday talking about the number of people who didn't vote. She's right that 60-something% of the people didn't vote, or more, didn't vote. But that's a choice, too. The people who didn't vote, if you look at low turnout elections mean that people who are registered to vote who don't vote usually don't vote because they're happy with who's in power. The only time you see, with very few exceptions, the only time you see a very high voter turnout is when people are mad at the people in power. And I'll give you a couple of really, really good examples that you will remember off the top of your head. Bill Clinton increased the number of votes in a national election significantly when he ran against George Bush Sr. and kicked his ass on Election Day. And people came out in droves against George Bush Sr. They were sick of George Bush Sr. The media had been clobbering him for months. By the way, very interesting about that race, just as a side note, George Bush Sr. was at 90% approval rating the January before he lost. He lost in November, and the January before he lost, he was at 90% approval rating because of Operation Desert Storm in Kuwait. All right? So on election day, there was such an overwhelming number of people. When you see a high turnout, it's always bad for the incumbents. When you see a low turnout, it's always good for the incumbent because most people won't vote if they're happy with who's in power, just the way that it is. I'm not saying I like it. I'm just saying that that's what it is, and I tried to explain that to people on Facebook yesterday. Those who don't want to believe the message don't want to believe it, and that's fine. In District D, you have Vivian Marmos, just city councilor in District D, and she is on the anti-Bryan brigade too, as well as, by the way, Giovanni Rodriguez is the former District D city councilor. That's up on Tower Hill. That's the Essex Projects, the Hancock Projects, and Tower Hill. And you have the current councilor and the former district councilor both hate Bryan, and the former district councilor is the council president, Giovanni Rodriguez, who also does not like the mayor, who also votes against everything the mayor wants, or mostly what the mayor wants. And look at the disparity in that one. It's almost 400 votes. It's like 411 votes, maybe. Do I have that right? Maybe. It does, I mean, the actual number doesn't matter. You can see it for yourself. It's 1,044 to 655 in a district where the current district councilor, 389, where the current district councilor and the former district councilor and the current council president lives. This is their home neighborhood. Bryan clobbered Juan Manny Gonzalez. Clobbered him. And it's not because Manny was a bad candidate. Manny was a great candidate. Manny was honest. He had class. He handled himself with dignity. He did what he needed to do. He knocked on a lot of doors, and he had a ringer. He had Chris, and he had Lenita Dykes running his campaign, doing Get Out the Vote, and they are master experts at what they do. But they couldn't overcome Bryan. Now you go to South Lawrence. District E is the Mount Vernon neighborhood. Juan Manny Gonzalez wins, but he doesn't win by a lot. He wins by, wow, that's pretty good, 426 votes. Patricia's using her calculator here to help us out. 426 votes. Juan Manny Gonzalez wins. That's the Frost School. That's the Frost School, and I think they still vote over in the Beacon Courts over there. I can't remember it's Diamond Springs, I think it's still called. I think they still vote over there. Then you go into F. Now, here is where I think Manny could have won this race. And I said this all the way up until Election Day. And that's because District F City Council Mark LaPlante had no competition. And had he had competition, that 917 and 787 probably would have been 30 or 40% higher. And that means Juan Manny Gonzalez's disparity would have been 30 or 40% higher. And I think that would have put him within striking distance. Here's your final total, but it's unofficial because as of the official numbers that I looked at this morning, and I couldn't bring them in because these were already made, and it was like 2 hours before we got here. 5982 to 51 Ted for 872 votes, but that's actually about 1,200. Brian DePena wins. For all the people that said about voter fraud, this time he can't cheat. The state's going to be overlooking everything, Tom. The state troopers are going to be standing there when people are voting. There's not going to be any shenanigans. Brian's done. The only reason he won last time is because he cheated. And he can't cheat this time, so we know he's finished. You should have seen Debo Brown crying in City Hall on election night. It was fucking beautiful. I walked in, and I looked at him. He was with his elderly girlfriend, whatever. I don't want to insult her because she's probably a nice person. She's got enough problems being his girlfriend. But I walked in, and I looked at them, and they were crying. He was crying. And I felt so bad for him. Even me, the guy tried to put me in jail. He tried to ruin my life. Even I looked at him, and I felt so bad. I was like, hey, how you doing? Like, I felt bad for the guy. I don't know why I did. I just did. You should have seen the crying at the end of the night. Julissa Nunez. 5 minutes after these numbers came out, Julissa Nunez was on Facebook blaming Brian DePena for a shooting, as if he was the one out shooting people. It's his fault. It was crazy. The haters. And let me say one more thing before we move on. Alta Gracia Maggi, I've defended her down the line, and I get a lot of shit for defending her. I think she has a tremendous value in this community. I think it's always good to have a naysayer. I think it's always good to have somebody keeping people in power in check. But she's on Facebook crying like a little girl, as like Debo Brown was on election night. She's crying because people are taunting her on Facebook. And not for anything, but Alta Gracia. This is the guy that's been defending you for a long time. You can't go out there and attack someone's wife, attack someone's children, attack someone's family. You can't go out there and accuse someone of cheating on their wife. You can't call them a crook. You can't say the FBI is going to arrest them. You can't accuse them of cheating. You can't accuse them of embezzling. You can't accuse them of all the things you accuse the mayor of doing and taunting his supporters and calling them aiding and abetting, calling them accomplices to crimes, saying billboards were criminal. You can't do all of that. And then when the election's over and a few people taunt you back because you lost, cry foul. You can't do it. You can't do it because you've got no credibility. Because there's nobody on the planet who thinks, nobody on the planet, nobody who thinks that if you had won, if one Manny Gonzalez, if those numbers were reversed, that you and Debo and Jalissa and Dan Guzman and Sarah Perez wouldn't be on Facebook taunting the DePena supporters. And if there's anybody out there who does not believe that, please call your healthcare provider, book yourself some time with a psychologist, and sit down and work out your mental problems. Because if you watched anything that went on during this campaign, you know they were taunting Brian and his children and his wife and his neighbors and his third cousin's babysitter's mailman because they were connected to Brian. So we know for sure that if Brian had lost, you would be doing the same thing, if not worse. So stop your frickin' whining. Nobody wants to hear it. If you're going to step into the arena, if you're going to play the big boy game, you got to take it as well as you give it. All right, intern boy, let's go quickly to the district council races. We'll blow through these. Here we go. The at-large race. This was really, really amazing. Selena Reyes, she just killed it. Selena and Giovanni just killed it. There was 49 votes between them. 52-28 to 51-79, your top two. They're both incumbents. Giovanni is the city council president. And here's what's really interesting about those numbers. Giovanni Rodriguez is not an ally of the mayor. He's an adversary of the mayor. I don't want to call him an enemy because he's not that kind of person. But he's an adversary of the mayor. Selena Reyes is with the mayor. She is an ally of the mayor. So you have the ally of the mayor 49 points ahead of an enemy or adversary of the mayor with 51-79. You know what that tells me? That tells me that the public at home, the voters at home, don't give a shit about the inside baseball. They don't care who you like, who you don't like, who you're allied with, who you're not allied with. They go on the issues, they go on name recognition, and when you knock on their door, they go on how you treat them. And those numbers prove that. And there's something else those numbers prove that we're going to get to in a second. But let's look at Anna Levy. Anna Levy had a really big chance of losing this election. And you know why she didn't lose this election? It's not because she campaigned hard, because she didn't. She campaigned toward the end. She poured it on at the end. But you want to know why she didn't win this election? I'm going to give it to you. She's not going to be happy to hear it because she's my friend and I endorsed her. But I'm just giving you the honest truth. She lost this election because John Regal screwed up. John Regal could have been in third place. John Regal could have been in that third place spot. And by right, should have been in that third spot. He campaigned harder. He knocked more doors. He went to more events. We didn't see Anna Levy until 3 or 4 weeks before maybe 2 weeks before the election. Like, she was nowhere. We didn't see her. I didn't see her. None of the people that were calling me were seeing her. I had people calling me every day saying Nelson Rosario knocked on my door. John Regal knocked on my door. Giovanni Rodriguez knocked on my door. Not until a week and a half to 2 weeks before the election did people start calling me saying, Anna Levy knocked on my door. John Regal was the only candidate that was on this show. And I tried very hard to advise him. You are running in a vote for 3 election. The math doesn't work. Even with my Lawrence High math, the math doesn't work if you're running in a vote for 3 election and you endorse a candidate for mayor. Because you've now pissed off at the very least 49% of the voters, and at the very worst, more than 50% of the voters. And John Regal, on his own, decided, and that's fine, like, listen, everybody's got their own campaign style. You don't have to listen to me. I don't live in Lawrence. I don't win or lose by any of this. But I try and give the best advice that I can. He came in last. And if you go back and you look at those numbers and we're going to do that in a second, so you don't have to move anything, Nick, but it's the next one in line, I think. If you look at the numbers, we're going to look at it in a second. John Regal endorsed Juan Manny Gonzalez. He endorsed Wendy Luzon. He went everywhere with them. He was doing selfies with them. He went to all of their events. Their people didn't vote for him. That number at the bottom, 2,402, that number, if I look at one, and I'm going to show this to you in a second, but that number, Juan Manny Gonzalez got 5,110 votes. That means more than 60% of Juan Manny Gonzalez's voters did not vote for John Regal. And had John Regal stayed out of the mayor's race, stayed out of the District B race, was not trashing candidates on Spanish language radio every day, was not trashing them at events every day, was not acting angry on the campaign trail and talking about corruption every day when he didn't really know what he was talking about. And I get it. He's new. He's a rookie. He fell into the same trap I did, and I've been doing this my whole life. He was listening to the Julissa Nunez's. He was hearing he was seeing the Photoshop documents that Debo Brown was posting, and he believed it. And he thought it was going to go a different way, and he was trying to ride the wave. But that's the result. Right there, you're looking at the number, 2,402. Manny's vote was 5,110. More than 60% of Manny Gonzalez's voters did not vote for the guy that was going everywhere championing Manny Gonzalez. And I'm hoping, I know he thinks I'm attacking him. I'm not. This is more like tough love. Take it from, take it from a father figure that's been doing this for a really long time. I'm trying to give you tough love because I think John Regal has a lot of talents and could really help the community. He has a lot to give, and I think he could have a leadership role. But he's got to not he's got to not make the rookie mistakes. And there were a lot of people that were very experienced that tried to help him avoid those landmines, and he just didn't want to listen. Like, he went in a totally different direction. And that's fine, but this is the result. All right, the next slide we have real quick. Here you go. And I broke this down for you. 2,708 vote difference between John Regal, who endorsed Manny Gonzalez, and Manny Gonzalez. Right? That's more people who voted for Manny didn't vote for John Regal than voted for John Regal. Right? Now, Nelson Rosario, who was in fourth place, feels exactly the same way John Regal does, but didn't tell anybody. He wasn't on Spanish language radio trashing the mayor. He wasn't going to fundraisers trashing the mayor. He didn't get involved in the District B race with Wendy Luzon. He ended up in fourth. John Regal ended up in last. Let's go to your next one. Here's your District A race, Franklin Miguel. I got to be honest, I thought this was going to be bigger. Franklin Miguel had everybody, including Mother Teresa, came back from the grave to endorse Franklin Miguel. Christ descended onto Lawrence. He came back from the grave for the second time in the last 2,025 years, and endorsed Franklin Miguel. And there was still only a 415 vote difference between my girl, Lisi, say it with the Spanish accent. Lisi Rivas. Who is just so adorable. She's on Facebook every day. She worked really hard. But Franklin Miguel deserves it. He did work hard. He spent some money. He quoted a lot of endorsements. I've never seen that many endorsements for a District A City Council race, So you know they're grooming him for Senate. You know they're grooming him for a state rep seat. You know they're grooming him for mayor. They're grooming him for something. The Democrat Party descended into Lawrence to make sure Franklin Miguel got in. And you know what? Look at those numbers for Lissy Rivas. Despite everything they threw at her, because it wasn't really against her. It wasn't like in Methuen. We're going to talk about it in a second. But they threw everything in the Franklin Miguel basket. They put all their eggs in him. And she still only lost by 415 votes. And what that tells me is if this campaign had gone on another 2 weeks and she had campaigned harder, she could have won. Even with all those endorsements and all that money. And he's a good-looking guy, which always gives you an extra 5%. He speaks perfect English. He's a nice guy. People like him. He's very personable. And she still could have beaten him. That's pretty amazing, I think. By the way, both of those candidates were against Brian DePena. So that's 1,597 votes, if you add those two together. Their voters, Brian won District A. Brian won District A 966 to 824. That means a significant chunk of those people who love Brian DePena supported people who don't like Brian DePena. And I'm going to keep pointing that out, that nobody gives a shit. If you're a candidate, who you're aligned with, John Regal, I'm trying to help you for 2 years from now, my friend. Nobody cares who you're aligned with. They take every candidate based on the issue that they're running on, based on the race that they're running on. In District B, Rosalie Gonzalez, 943. Wendy Luzon, 931, with a 12-vote difference. I think it actually turns out to be 13 when the other votes came in. You're probably going to see a recount, but I can tell you, in my lifetime, I've seen no less than 20 recounts. I've been present during no less than 20 recounts. I've only seen the most votes I've ever seen flip in a recount was 6. 6 votes went from one side to the other, so it was really a swing of 3 or 3.5, depending on how you want to work it out. So there's probably going to be a recount, but on a recount you're not going to make up 12 votes because you have to really make up 7, right? You either have to find 13 new votes, or you take 7 votes away from Rosalie Gonzalez and you give it to Wendy Luzon and she wins by 1 vote. I don't think that's going to happen. I've never seen it happen. The closest it's ever came was when Nunzio Damaca ran against Israel Reyes for at-large city council. There was a 11-vote difference. I think there was 6 that flipped. Israel Reyes still ended up winning that race. Let's go to the next one. Intern boy, you're doing a great job, by the way. Considering we threw you when this is baptism by fire. Here's your District B race where we did this. Let's just look real quick. So this is the number I was telling you, right? John Regal endorsed. He was not in this race. John Regal ran at large. But I wanted you to see, John Regal endorsed Wendy Luzon and went everywhere she went. They campaigned together. They did selfies together. Look at the difference. Look at that. You had over 500 people that voted for Wendy Luzon that did not vote for John Regal. And that's because people don't care. All right, next one. Intern boy, there you go. District D, Vivian Marmol. This was inevitable. I know Erisenia Mata did do some work. I know she did try. But Vivian Marmol, listen, she's very good looking. She speaks perfect English. She's very personable, and she's bubbly. When you talk to her, she bounces. She's like Mike Goldman's mom. She bounces when she talks. She's happy. She's always laughing. She's always telling jokes, and people like her. And so even though she hates Brian and she votes against everything Brian wants, and Erisenia Mata was Brian's hand-picked candidate in that race, Brian won this district 1,044 votes to 655. There's a 500-vote difference between Brian and Juan Manny Gonzalez. But Brian's candidate didn't win. Vivian Marmol won. And that's because people looked at her. They looked at her job performance. Again, being good-looking always helps. I know people don't believe that, especially liberals don't want to believe it, but it's true. And she took a lot of shit when there was a big fire in her district. She had a vacation scheduled the next day, and she left the city. And she got attacked personally for a long time on that, simply because she left the community to go on vacation as if she's a firefighter and she could have done anything, right? As if she's the Red Cross, she could have done anything. She's a district councilor. Her job is to vote on budgets and policies. And look at that. The people in her district did not hold it against her. In fact, it looked like it might have backlashed. District E, Stephanie Infante, my adopted daughter. Stephanie Infante, 1,535 votes to Eric Machuca. You got to feel bad for Eric Machuca. I know he did some work. I heard that he was out there. My parents called me and said he was knocking doors. My parents live in Mount Vernon, by the way. 1,027 vote difference. The only thing that beats that, and only by 6 votes, is Mark LaPlante, who ran against nobody and beat Blank by 1,033. Mark LaPlante beat Blank by 6 votes more than Stephanie Infante beat a guy that was actually on the ballot. That tells you how popular she is. It also tells you, by the way, how nice she is. Stephanie Infante is one of those people that when people call her at home at 2 o'clock in the morning to complain about something stupid like a pothole, she doesn't say, listen, can you call me in the morning when I'm in the office? She engages with them. And I know that because people have called me and told me that. Stephanie Infante is one of those district councilors who takes her job very, very seriously and does not just see herself as a part-time councilor who votes on budgets and policies. She's active in the community. And let me tell you something else that she does that every single elected official who's watching this podcast should write down, including the woman sitting next to me, and remember. You know what Stephanie Infante does that nobody else does that will make those numbers never change? When it's not an election time, she still knocks on doors. You know, 3 months after an election, if there's a problem in the neighborhood, she'll go knock on those neighbors' doors and say, listen, I heard that there was a problem with your lights or potholes or an issue with noise. Can you explain to me what's going on? Can you just kind of tell me? Maybe there's something I can do to help. Maybe not, but maybe I can. She doesn't just knock on their door when she's looking for a vote. She knocks on their door when she has their vote. She doesn't need them anymore, and she wants to help them. And so if you want to be a good elected official, if you won in any community in the Merrimack Valley and you want to be a good elected official, go back and knock on doors after the election's over. Go back 3 months later. Bring coffee. Bring donuts. Say, hey, listen, I knocked on your door during election time. I appreciate you listening to me. Now I'm here to listen to you. And that's something Stephanie Infante does. It's something that I advise all my candidates to do, the candidates that I work for. And that's why those numbers are what they are. Eric Machuca might be the nicest, most experienced, most qualified person for that job. He had no chance against Stephanie Infante. None. He had no chance. Okay, next. I know I'm trying to breeze through this as quickly as I can. Here's your school committee race. Jonathan Guzman just fucking crushing it. Like, look at this. I mean, there's just no way around this. And I feel really bad for my friend Luis Robles, who was my candidate. I had 28 candidates on election day. I only lost 3. I lost 3 races out of 28. 3. This was one of them. He was 82 votes behind Quinn Gunnell. And the reason he was 89 votes between Quinn Gunnell is because the Democrats did for Quinn Gunnell what they did for Franklin Miguel in District A. They went out, you had Pavel Payano, and you had a number of Democrats helping Quinn Gunnell get across the finish line. In the primary, those numbers were opposite. Quinn Gunnell was in 4th. Luis Robles was in 3rd. And because Quinn Gunnell had the insiders, the good old boys, behind him, it pushed him into that spot. And I know that my friend the midget over at Labor's Union Local 175 endorsed Quinn Gunnell before I had a chance to ask him to vote for to support Luis Robles, and I think that also had a say. All right, quick, we got to go through the next one. I took way too much time, and I apologize to my guest. Technical School Committee, here you go, 6175, 5245, 4397. Josias Mendez, who was a really nice guy, and he's related to a friend of mine, did not win, but I think if he stays involved, I think if he goes to the meetings, if he speaks to public participation, if he shows up at events when it's not an election time, I think he can change that in 2 years. Your winners are Zoela, Diesla, Julia Mejia, and Ednison Mercedes. I don't know any of these people. All right, let's go to Methuen real quick. Here's your at-large race in Methuen. This was kind of interesting. Ryan DeZoglio, 31-12. John Drew, 25-44. 3 votes between Jana Zani-Pesci, who I think is in her second term on the city council. He beat her, a newcomer, by 3 votes. 3 votes. That's crazy. John Drew came out of nowhere. He had never been politically active in Methuen. He's very politically active in Lawrence. I worked on Dan Rivera's campaign with him about 10 years ago. And he's a super nice guy. By the way, super good looking, which I'm going to say again does actually help. But he was also very measured, wasn't excitable, knocked on a lot of doors, spent a lot of money, and had a lot of people. The good old boys were all behind John. I'm just going to say it that way. Sharon Pollard was behind him. The mayor was behind him. All the good old boys in Methuen were behind John. Ryan DeZoglio topping the ticket. And here's something really interesting from Methuen history. Ryan DeZoglio, the first DeZoglio to top a ticket on a city council, but his brother, so Ryan's on the school committee. His brother Nick is on the city council, is an at-large councilor now. They swapped. Nick decided to, because they both termed out. So Ryan decided to run for his brother's job in the at-large race. Nick decided to run for his brother's job in the school committee race. And now, not only is this the first time that a DeZoglio has topped the ticket in a city council race, but it's the first time 2 brothers have topped the ticket in 2 different races because Nick actually topped the ticket in the school committee race. I feel so bad for Juan DeSantos, Jim Saucione, and Frank Cirillo. They all worked hard. They were all out there. They all came on our debate. They all had great answers. I think if Wanda had spent a little bit more money and knocked on a few more doors, she probably could have made it closer, but I don't think she could have won. I think that top lineup, DeZoglio, Drew, Pesci, the minute we knew who the candidates were, I think that was solid. I think that was just a solid wall you weren't going to get past. DeZoglio had the name. John Drew had the good old boys. Jana Zani was an incumbent. And I feel really bad for Frank Cirillo because he's actually an incumbent, but he wasn't elected to the job. He stepped in for DJ Beauregard when DJ became acting mayor when Neil Perry died. Jim Saucione, I have a lot of friends that voted for Jim Saucione based on the debate that we did. And a lot of people say to me afterwards that they were very impressed with Frank and Jim during that debate. People that I didn't really think would gravitate to those candidates, but they did. And I also know that Jim Saucione had he gotten a little bit more help from the Republicans, who just suck so bad in the Merrimack Valley. They're just so friggin' awful. They are just so horrible at recruiting a farm team and helping Republicans at the local level get on board so that maybe we could have somebody decent for state rep races down the road. If Jim Sascioni actually had help from the Republicans, he actually could have won that race, I think. But maybe not. You had that wall with the 3. So, all right, let's go to the next one for your district races. Here's your East End District Council. This is a little surprising. Nellie Soto was in first place 2 years ago. Now she's in second, but only by 106 votes. That's not a lot. It's a low turnout race. Very low turnout in Methuen, very high turnout in Lawrence. Ian Buckley, who never reached out to me. I never saw him on the campaign trail. I know that he knocked doors. I had phone calls. By the way, I'm cousins with the Bananos. Most people don't know that. So whenever somebody knocks on a Banano door, I either get an email or a text message or a phone call. And I know Ian Buckley, at least toward the end, was knocking doors. But I don't think you were ever going to get past a Ron Marsan, who's been around forever, or a Nellie Soto, who has not been around forever. I think she's in her first term. But she's a firecracker at those city council meetings. She doesn't care who she pisses off. If she has a question to ask, and you see them throwing dirty looks at her when she's asking these questions, she does it anyway. And I don't always agree with her. In fact, a lot of times I don't agree with her. But I really admire the fact that she's got the guts and the courage to get up there and do it. All right, Central District. Here she is, the future Mrs. Duggan, Yanilda Santos, comes in second place. Your top 2, Ellen McLaren, Yanilda Santos. Sharon Birchall in third place. Wow, how bad do you have to feel if you're Lawrence Santos today? That, first of all, as a former incumbent, you only got 400 votes in your own district. But second of all, you got beat by a criminal. You got beat by Sharon Birchall? Like, Sharon Birchall shouldn't even meet the primary given her past and her present, given her family situation. Sharon Birchall shouldn't even be close. But people disliked Luann so much that they would rather vote for Sharon Birchall, of all people, over Luann Santos. That's just stunning to me. Ella McLaren had the good old boys behind her. She had Sharon Pollard. She had all the unions. She had DJ Beauregard. So she had all the advantages, even though she did very little campaigning. Yes, it helps that she's good looking. It helps that she's young. It helps that she's female. It helps that she's a partisan Democrat. She checks all the boxes. I know just from the fact that Sharon Pollard supported her, that she's for transgender bathrooms, for transgender surgeries. She's for all the things that the left wing of the Democrat Party wants, because Sharon Pollard doesn't support anybody unless they check all the Democrat boxes. But you had a 166 vote difference between Ella and Yanilda. They both win 2 seats in that district. And then Sharon was 83 votes out of second place. And you know who I blame for that? I blame Luann Santos. If Luann Santos had dropped out of that race like she should have, because she's not committed to the job anyway, had she dropped out, almost all of that 158 would have gone to Yanilda. In fact, I had a lot of people say to me that they voted for Luann Santos thinking they were voting for the future Mrs. Duggan, Yanilda Santos, because they both have the same last name. She should have dropped out. She wasn't committed. She would not have, had she won, she would not have filled out her term. She would have quit again. That's your Central District winners, and then let's go to the West End, and we've got her here today. Patricia Valley comes in second place. Wow, 346 votes. Dan Shabilia, the sitting school committee member, couldn't even break 1,000 votes in the West End. That's where he's most popular. That's where he gets all his votes for school committee. You had Mike Samad topping the ticket with 1,417 votes. Only 309 votes with everything she had going against her. She had Joe Ferretra, she had Mike Samad bad-mouthing her, knocking doors, she had Dan Shabilia mocking her accent, she had people throwing racist jabs at her, accusing her of voter fraud, making shit up against her, and she still was 309 votes away from Mike Samad. Pretty good. And Dan Shabilia, for all of his nonsense, he's where he belongs. He's at the bottom. 762 votes, 346 votes away from Patricia Valley, even after everything they threw at her. Let's go to the next one. This is your school committee race. This is the one that really shocked me. The only surprise for me of the night in Methuen, not that Nick DeZoglia topped the ticket, because we knew his name is DeZoglia, he's going to top the ticket, but the fact that Kristen Maxwell, she wins, but she's 157 votes out of 5th place. And I know she's not a politician. I know that she went on vacation a week before the election because she had actually planned on dropping out. I talked her into not dropping out. She had actually announced that she was dropping out, and I called her and said, listen, we got to go to lunch. Please don't drop out. I think you can do a tremendous job. Please do that. Please stay in the race. She did. And she wins, but she knocks out two of our candidates, Alejandro Baez and Maria Figueroa. So of the 28 candidates that I supported in this election, I lost Luis Robles for school committee in Lawrence. I lost Alejandro and Maria for school committee in Methuen. I lost 3 races. I had 3 races that I called that I thought would win, that didn't win, and the other 28 minus 3 with my Lawrence high math count on my fingers, 25 candidates all won. And then Danielle Fantry, who I think probably could have done better, but I didn't see her anywhere. And so I don't know if she put her name on the ballot and changed her mind and then just didn't campaign, or I don't know. I don't know what the situation is. I'm not going to guess. But she did reach out to me at one point, and we did publish her information in the Valley Patriot. And I hope that she runs again. And if she does run again and she wants to call me and I can give her some advice about maybe how she can make those numbers a little bit better, but she deserves a lot of credit. And by the way, all of these people, all of them, even the people I'm bad-mouthing, they all deserve credit for doing something that none of you have the balls to do. Put your name on the ballot and have people scrutinize your public public reputation, scrutinize your family, scrutinize your background, scrutinize your resume, scrutinize your criminal record, make up stories about you, attack you publicly. There's a very big price to running for public office and trying to help your community. We're going to find out what that is in a couple of seconds with Patricia. But every single person who ran deserves credit for running. All right, one more I think we have here. Nevin's Library, nothing made me happier than this. I was happy about Dan Shabilia losing, but his wife, Crybaby Kelsey Shabilia. Did I write that down? I didn't mean to put that in writing. I apologize. Crybaby Kelsey Shabilia in last place. And if Intern Girl is watching, I know she probably is. I'm really sad that Intern Girl's not here because if you look at that first name, Christina Tina Tuma Conway, that's Rita Christine, Intern Girl. She came in first for the Nevin's Library, and I don't know if most people know this, but do you guys know who number 2 is? Do you guys know who that is? I bet you don't. He's been on. I think he's been on for a while. I think this is like his second or third term. But do you know who that is, Intern Boy? Does that name look familiar? Do you look familiar to you? Brian Fraser, can you hear me out there? No, he's not listening. I'm going to blow your mind, especially if you're over 40. The second name on that ballot is David Allen Boucher from Wish 99.5 WSSH. He was in radio for about 50 years. I worked with him at, honestly, I can't make it up. I don't remember what radio station I worked at him with. I remember being in Boston, and I think he was doing, 93.5, but I could be wrong. I was doing WTKK talk radio, FM talk. It was the only FM talk station in the country at the time. And on our floor were 4 other stations that were owned by the same company. And David Allen Boucher was, and I can't remember, might have been 98.5. Do you know what 98.5 is? I'm not real listening to radio anymore. Nobody in the studio knows anything I'm talking about. But David Allen Boucher, who is by the way, a conservative, and a radio legend. And when I say a radio legend, most people don't even listen to radio anymore. But this guy is a radio legend, and I was so thrilled to see. I can't say we were friends, but we knew each other well. We got along well. It was really good to see a guy that I knew that had made such an incredible contribution to radio, a lost art for sure, running and helping his community, getting 2,295 votes, and on top of all that, beating Crybaby Kelsey Shabilia. So Dan loses, his wife loses, and I think maybe they'll get the hint that the voters don't want them around anymore. So I think that's it. Is there more, or are we done? There's no more. Okay. So sitting in the studio with me, and I apologize, this took a little bit longer than I wanted to. And I'm not going to take too much more of your time because we're hungry. We want to go get something to eat, right, Patricia? Yes. But sitting in the studio with me, she got reelected despite the fact that they mocked her accent. They told her to go back to Mexico, even though she's not Mexican. Mike Samad knocked on doors and was showing people pictures of her and Brian DePina, showing them his phone and saying, she's going to brown up Methuen. She's going to turn Methuen into Lawrence. She's going to turn the West End into Lawrence. making really racist and really despicable comments about her. Not knocking on doors saying vote for me, but knocking on doors saying don't vote for her. And the day before the election, Joe Ferretra, of all people, who got thrown off the council, was posting documents claiming she committed voter fraud and lying. And honestly, I don't know if you have a lawyer, but you should, and you should hold him accountable. You need to bring him into court. And what he did is 100% actionable. He lied. He knew he was lying. He purposely misrepresented what those documents said, and he tried to cost you the election. And he did it on behalf of others.
I was going to say that was orchestrated.
I'm sorry. I'm going to let you say what happened because
it was orchestrated for two insiders.
You got to pull this up really closer.
Okay, closer.
Yeah,
Okay.
This is what's killing you.
Okay, perfect. So, it was orchestrated by two insiders and one of the opponent. So they sent it to him because he has nothing to lose. He was.
Yeah, he moved out of the city.
Exactly. He was lying.
Right.
Just because he wanted to continue getting the stipend, and it has a name.
Mm-hmm.
Taking the money from the taxpayers, right?
Yeah, he tried to stay on the city council even though he moved to Manchester, New Hampshire.
Exactly.
And lied about it,
and
by
lie
the way.
about it. Yeah, and lie about it. Yeah, but that was orchestrated by three people, and I know who they are. And
Tell us, please tell us. Give us the names.
I hope they're happy with what
We know
they
my
did.
Samad's one of them for sure, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, tell us who the others
Of
are,
course.
please. Please.
Later on.
I mean, you told me privately. I just want you to say
No.
because I'm a big believer in
I
if
don't want
you're
to make
gonna,
any accusation here.
I'm a big believer if you're going to engage in this kind of crap, then you should be called out for it, which is why I do what I do. That's my whole job, right? Calling people out for doing what they do. And it's always been I was on the school committee in Lawrence back in 97, 8, and 9. And they did to me successfully what they tried to do to you. And because I made all the wrong, it's one of the reasons I advise candidates now, especially when they have problems. I did everything wrong. So if I wrote a book on how to screw up a scandal, how not to handle a scandal, it's everything that I did when I was on the school committee. They accused my girlfriend of things, they accused me of things, and the more I tried to explain it, and the more I believed in the goodness of people, that if I just tell people what really happened, then I'll be okay because I didn't really do anything wrong. But the more I did that, the more they would take little snippets of what I said out of context, and they would feed it to the Eagle Tribune, and they'd say, he said this, he said that. And they would print not what I said, but what other people said I said out of context. And it was a total hit. I did literally everything wrong, and even after they misquoted me, after they mischaracterized me, I still called the Tribune and said, listen, can I just explain this to you one more time? Maybe you're not getting it. The fact is they were getting it. They were doing it on purpose. And so now that I get that, now that I'm on this end of the media, and now I get it, and I see people like you under fire, it's why I pick up the phone now and say, hey, wait a minute, listen, I did everything wrong. Don't do what I did, right?
I appreciate your support.
And I feel so bad. Here's why I feel worse for you than I feel for most people that have to deal with this. Most people that go through what you went through in this race, especially dealing with the racism angle, which most of my candidates don't deal with, you took it personal, and you felt bad. You were sad. I talked to you a couple times. You were sad. And I dealt with people in Lawrence that dealt with this all this election season. I dealt with two other candidates in Methuen that kind of dealt with this on a much smaller scale. And all of them were like, well, then you know what? I'm going to just take your advice. I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to keep working, and I'm not going to let it bother me. But you're a very different person. You're a much more empathic person, and you're a much more emotional person.
I am.
And I could tell from talking to you that it personally bothered you. And that's why I kept reaching out to you and saying, please, please, please take my advice. Feel bad about it later. Keep knocking doors. Don't make any comments to the press. Just keep doing what you're going to do. But I want people at home to understand what it was they tried to do. You had a campaign volunteer that was knocking doors and asking people if they needed to, if they wanted to vote by mail. They had an application. If you want to vote by mail, just fill out this form. But there were a few voters that didn't speak English.
Yeah.
So the volunteer read it to them and translated it into Spanish and helped them fill it out with their own handwriting and then had the voters sign it. But under the law, and by the way, I didn't know this, and I do this for a living, under the law, if a volunteer helps someone fill out an application for a mail-in ballot, they have to sign a disclosure form that says they helped the voter fill out the ballot, but it was the voter that actually signed the application.
Yes, but the thing is, on Section 3, it says disclose if you are a family member or if the voter is physically impaired. So it didn't apply. for 1 or 2 because they were not family members, and the voter was not physically impaired. It was just a language barrier. Sometimes, and that's happened a lot in elderlies, like they can't speak the language, but their education level is so low, like a 3rd grade, 4th grade, that they cannot even read.
It really is amazing how many people in the Merrimack Valley can't read in either language. It's true. I mean, I run into it all the time.
Yeah, it was just an oversight. It was communicated
Still
to the
have a right
state.
to vote, though, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was communicated to the state. The state cleared everything, but they made a big deal out of that.
And they tried to make it look like because your volunteers' handwriting was on the the different forms.
They're experts now in graphology.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's the same Emma of Methuen. That's how she does the P.
Yeah.
Please.
Right. Yeah.
Give me a break.
But the signatures were different because the signatures were the actual voters.
The actual voter, they signed.
And under the
yes.
law, so when you found out about this, somebody leaked this to you a few months ago that this was going on, that they were going to try and set you up. Thank God someone leaked that to you. We won't say who that was. And when you found out that this is what they were going to try and set you up on, you got ahead of it. You were smart. You said, you know what, I'm going to tackle this head on. What did you do?
No, I had a meeting, and one of the volunteers admitted that she was not signing or disclosing that she assisted those voters. So I contacted the states and explained what happened. And they say as long as the voter knew what they were signing and they signed the application, you should be all set. Contact the clerk, provide her with the volunteer name and contact info, and that should be all set. And that's what I did. I followed instructions.
Right. And so last night, I didn't see it. And as a side note, is there something you guys can do about, I always give people over at MCTV3 or whatever they call it, Methuen Cable X, I always give them a hard time, but I'm just breaking their chops. I love the people over there, almost all of them. They're wonderful people, and they work really hard. And I gave them a lot of crap about the gun question and the at-large race, but I know a few people took that personal. I was just having fun with you guys, honest to God. I have no animosity toward almost anybody over there. There's one person, but there's always an exception. But can you talk? Can the council find a way to do what the school committee does? Because if I miss the first 10 minutes of a city council meeting, I have to wait 2 days before they post it. Whereas the school committee goes live on YouTube. So if I miss the first 10 minutes when the meeting's over, I can go back and watch the first 10 minutes right away.
I think Councilor Soto sent an email to MCTV, and they are working on that.
Okay, and they're great people.
Yeah.
Again, I want to apologize if anybody took it the wrong way. But I missed last night's meeting, and someone called me afterwards and said, "You're not going to believe this. Tell me if this is wrong." Somebody called me afterwards and said, "You're not going to believe this, but Mike Samad's not even a city councilor yet, and he get up at the microphone and attack you for being on this show. That can't be true. He didn't attack you for being on the show."
Actually, the attack was not towards me. I would say maybe what he wanted to do. He was talking about the communication between the city council and department heads.
Okay.
And that was based on an email that was sent to the state and to the clerk regarding the primaries.
Okay.
That was discussed in the previous meeting, but I guess he didn't know that. He didn't do his homework
Well,
before going to the.
If he's not on TV, he's not paying attention.
Yeah, like he was not paying attention, and he just read the email, but he didn't say anything about the evidence attached to the email. That was text messages from constituents and voters in the primaries stating that the poll workers were telling people that they needed to vote for two candidates.
Right. And by the way, that's why Ella McLaren got so many votes in the primary and in the final, because I heard they were doing it in the final, too.
They did that, too. I
people
heard
telling me
from
they were doing
someone
it on
that,
Tuesday.
at the 10. Yeah, I heard that just now on the way here.
So you could vote for two in the district races, for those of you at home following. In the district races, you could vote for two because two candidates get elected to represent each district, but you don't have to vote for two.
No, it's not mandatory.
So if you don't, that's called a bullet vote. You can just vote for, like, the future Mrs. Duggan. You can just vote for Yonelda or Ellen McLaren. Just vote for her. And that kind of counts as two votes because you're taking a vote away from one of her opponents. But there were campaign workers that were telling people that they had to vote for two. So people who had decided to vote for Yonelda or decided to vote for Sharon for whatever reason, just to bring somebody in, then threw an extra vote to someone else, and that person ended up being Ella because all the emails and all the good old boys that supported her. And by the way, I don't hold that against her at all. You can't hold it against a candidate when the good old boys circle around somebody. Usually it's because they think they can control the person, and usually because they do control the person. But I'm not going to say that that's true because I haven't had a conversation with her yet, and I may have lunch with her at some point in the next few weeks and find out, she's going to surprise all of them. She's not going to be anything like they think, because every once in a while they make mistakes too. But so it's not true that he got up and he attacked you, because I was told he got up and he attacked you
not
for
really.
being on this show, and that's why I posted on Facebook. So I apologize on Facebook for getting that wrong, because that's what I was told.
No.
But because I couldn't go back and watch it, I had to go by what people were telling me.
He stated that the email was exposed here while I was on your show. But he was wrong, because that was discussed on the floor before the show.
Yeah, we did talk about it on the show, but it had already been released publicly.
Yeah, it was released publicly, exactly.
So is this just his way of looking for an excuse to attack you again, or do you think maybe now that the election's over, this is going to...
I think he's obsessed with me. These 2 years are going to be interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
I know he's obsessed with me.
And I hope we can work out the differences and do the best for the community, because we have been elected to do a job for the residents. Yeah, for the same district. So I will, advise him to...
I endorsed the guy.
You did?
I did. I endorsed him on the show. I endorsed him on Facebook, and wasn't real happy about it. But when I looked at his capability of doing the job and Dan Stability's capability of doing the job, I may not like Mike Samad. I may not even agree with anything that he does for the city of Methuen, but at least he's capable of reading a budget. At least he's capable of understanding how grants work. At least he's capable of helping his constituents. Dan Stability would have got in, and he would have been doing whatever his wife told him to do, and none of the other things would have mattered. And he's not capable of understanding most of what it takes to be a city councilor. I mean, you guys deal with a lot more than the schools do, and ordinances, and a whole bunch of other things. And I looked at Mike Samad, and again, I always try to remove my personal feelings for people, which isn't easy, right? But it isn't easy even for me, right? And a lot of times I can do that easily, and sometimes, this time, it was not easy.
That's professional.
But I endorsed Mike Samad because I really believe he can do the job. I endorsed you because I love everything that you. I shouldn't say everything you do. I disagree with you a lot, but I love the fact that you fight for what you believe is right, and I also like that you, as upset as you get about the personal attacks, you keep going.
Oh yeah.
You persevere.
Resilience and perseverance. Yep.
And I also just did not want Dan Stability in there. We saw what he did on the school committee, pushing anal sex in the classrooms, and all the crazy stuff that he was doing with transgender stuff, and attacking Kristen Maxwell on a regular basis, bullying women at the table on a regular basis, and then accusing other people of being bullies. It was just crazy. You had to. How did you get through? So you're the opposite of me. Nothing bothers me. I have no soul, right? I'm Darth Vader. So people attack my father. People attack me. It doesn't bother me. But I've been in this business a long time. I'm jaded. You're not. How did you get through the emotional turmoil of dealing with the racism allegations, the mocking of your accent? People telling you to go back to Mexico when you're not even Mexican. If you're gonna be racist, at least be racist toward the right, to the right race.
What is Mexico, Dominican Republic, Colombia, Uruguay, Paraguay? I just focus on my campaign because they're trying to distract me, and I say they're not gonna get that. So I just were making phone calls, knocking on doors. They make fun of that too. They have videos of me. Like if I go and knock on doors and they don't open the door, what should I do?
You leave it hanging when you leave.
And it's called door hanger.
Right.
That's how it's called. Door hanger. Hang it.
Right.
So the one that is criticizing that, he had like a flyer with a rubber band, because I have a picture, and he wrapped it around. But they're criticizing me because I knocked the door, they didn't open, and I left the lead. So many nonsense and...
It's petty.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, right?
Yeah, like kids.
I expect this in Lawrence because that's the climate in Lawrence, and it's nothing against the people of Lawrence, but the climate in Lawrence is very petty. You see that the mayor. I actually watched a woman when Brian DePina parked his car outside City Hall one night. Intern girl was with me, and we were outside City Hall, and the mayor parked his car, and he walked into City Hall, and the minute the door closed behind him, someone jumped out of their car and measured the distance between his wheel and the curb to make sure it was the legal length away. So this is the pettiness that Lawrence politics is. But you don't expect it in Methuen, and you certainly don't expect it in the West End.
And I'm not the one bringing that to Methuen.
Right,
I want to clarify that.
It's the Lawrence cop that's bringing it to Methuen.
It's not me.
So do you think that maybe you have any kind of legal claim? because I know when I talk to them, I keep calling them midget, and people blow up my phone every time I do. I know when I talk to Mike Gagliardi, president of Mike and I are very good friends. I've been calling them midget lovingly for 30 years. But when we talked, I know he said to me, and I don't know if you read the story that I wrote, but he said, and I put it in the story, that if you don't have a lawyer or you don't have a lawyer and retainer, that Labor's Union Local 175 would help you get legal representation, because he saw the racism, and he runs a labor union, so he sees this every day, right? He has people that work for him every day that come to his office and say, we're doing a construction job, some guy made fun of my race, and so he's got lawyers on retainer that do this stuff. Do you think you've got legal?
I'm working on that.
Are you really?
Yeah, and I have sent a couple of emails too.
Okay.
To Boston, so
okay.
I'm waiting the response.
Now, do you have a lawyer? Because Mike's ready to give you one. You know.
I made a phone call.
I think at the very least, Joe Ferretra has some exposure here.
How legal is that to expose like the voters?
Doxing.
Name, the address, the last four of their social security. That's all over social media. Yeah. Is that legal?
It's not legal in the Mass General Law, Chapter 66.
66 or 40.
And I don't know if it's subsection 8 or 10, because I rewrote Section 10, and I think it might be subsection 8. But I
sent an email with to the state with all the screenshots.
So it's illegal to post someone's social security number, their birth date, because that's what people who steal your credit, people steal your identity, use to do that. And because he thought that he was over the state line, that he would be immune from you being able to reach him, I can tell you that he's not. And actually, who may have the actual legal claim would be the voters. So you should probably go knock on those voters' doors and talk to them. And if they need a lawyer, maybe you could all suit together and say, hey, wait a minute, this is what this guy did. We got about 5 minutes left. Maybe we got about 3 minutes left. I'm going to let Intern Boy get out of here because we've gone way over. And we started late. What is your vision now? You've won. You've got 2 years. You're going to have to work with this guy that hates you, that's constantly attacking you, personally attacking you. He obviously has it out for you. And I don't know if it's because you're on this show. I heard that it's because you did a picture with Brian DePena. You were at some event. You did a selfie.
He hates me because of the picture of Brian DePena. He hates me because I'm close to you. We started this friendship 3 months ago. He hates me because I'm close to Ron Marson.
Okay.
Who else he hates me? For who else?
But can they just hate you for something you do?
And the thing is,
like if someone wants to hate me for what I did, not for the people around me.
The thing is, I cannot judge a person by his experience.
Right.
Yeah, you haven't done anything wrong to me.
I have a very good friend.
That's like a controlling behavior that might work with the subordinates, or maybe in his house, but with me, it's not gonna work. Yeah. Because you told me go left and I go right. I do the opposite.
I have a very good friend who's friends with Dan Shabelia, who called me 3 months ago and said, hey, listen, he's my friend. I love this guy. And maybe when he's not in the political realm, maybe he's actually a good guy. But my friend, who's a very big business owner, very well known in the community, called me and said, can I put you guys together? Maybe we can have a coffee. Like maybe we can work this out. You don't like him. He don't like you. I like both of you. Maybe I can smooth this over. I never said to him, you can't be his friend if you're my friend. Like, that's just childish.
Childish.
And so for someone to not like you for something you do, that's fine. Like, don't like me for what I do. But if you're going to not like me because I'm friends with Mike Gorman, or you're not going to like me because I'm friends with Brian DePena or Octavian Spano, that's third grade. You can't be her friend if you're her friend.
Emotional intelligence, 0. Right there.
You may have a civil rights claim too, I think.
Yeah,
and that's something
I'm working on that too. This is going to get better.
So what is your vision for so all the politics aside, what's your vision for your voters? We got 2 minutes.
I want to thank the voters too that went out and gave me the opportunity to continue serving the city and the district, and thank you for being in my life and to take all the punches. To take all the punches for me. The mayor has this new project, which is the Methuen Business Alliance.
Okay.
Which I love that. I met with Katie Cook. She will be presiding.
Oh, yes. We promoted that on the podcast.
She is wonderful. She has done
have you met her before?
No, just now after this.
So you just met her?
Yeah.
She's incredible.
Because I want to collaborate with her. She has done an incredible job in Haverhill, Groveland, Amesbury.
And she's now coming to Methuen.
Yeah, now she's coming to Methuen. Thank you to the mayor.
I think Steve Robles in big trouble.
Thank you to Mayor Buttigieg.
I think Steve Robles in big trouble.
Yeah. And I'm so excited about that. And also, the mayor just sent an email yesterday regarding the grant writer, which I love that. So basically, the conversation that I have with
Was
Katie,
he helpful, by the way, during the campaign, the mayor?
Oh, no, but I didn't need him. So
okay, all right.
Yeah, here I am. Thanks, but no thanks. So the conversation.
You are so much more diplomatic than I am. I would have been blasting him from the minute we went online.
No. So the conversation with Katie Cook is how we can retain the existing businesses here in Methuen, and how to bring new businesses. And I'll be working like with the system and how to obtain a license, like to expedite the type of process for new businesses and for the existing one. And for the grant writer, obviously, I want to see that person chasing the funds for businesses as well, the existing one and the new one.
Yeah, people attack Octavian Spanner and some of the people that work in the mayor's office in Lawrence because they just don't understand what they do. And they say, well, look at Octavian Spanner's making $200,000 a year, but that guy's brought in millions and millions of dollars, whether it's from grants or businesses, getting people to come in. And people always look at what you're getting paid, but they never look at the other end and what you're bringing to the table.
Same thing that happened with the GLTS, Mr. Lavoy. That he was being bashed by Joe Ferretra for his salary, but he said that is based on performance.
Right.
Like, I'm bringing money.
Right.
And then I found out that Joe was mad at him because his wife applied for the job there and didn't get it.
Right.
Yep.
And by the way,
So
Mr. Lavoy is...
That's the one talking about fraud and...
We got to get you to the charity
fingers.
bash this coming year in March, right? And you got to come and you got to buy a table too.
Okay.
But Mr. Lavoy comes every year because one of the kids that we give scholarship to is always a Greater Lawrence kid. We have a Greater Lawrence Tech scholarship that we give out every year, and he comes. He's a superintendent. This is a guy that stays till 11:30 at night at an event. This guy works all week, right? He's running a school system that's got a budget that's almost as big as the Methuen schools, right? And he's working constantly. And then on a Friday night, when he could be home with his wife, when he could be enjoying, when he could just be napping, doing whatever he wants, watching a football game, he comes once a year to our charity bash. He sits through the entire event, even long after we give the Greater Lawrence Tech scholarship out, and he leaves. And he stays until the end. And he's such a good guy. And what most people don't know is that he was my shop teacher when I was at the Vogue.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in 1981.
Oh, wow.
1981.
He was Ron Marston's teacher as well.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
small
carpentry
world.
or
Yeah, I was in
something like that.
carpentry.
Yeah.
I was good. So I started my first 2 years of high school in carpentry, and Mr. Lavoy caught me writing poetry on one of the boards that I was supposed to be cutting. I had no interest in carpentry. I wanted to write. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to write poetry. I wanted to write books. So I'm writing poetry on the back of this board, and I didn't realize. I thought he was at lunch, and he came over, and he's looking over my shoulder. He goes, Mr. Duggan, that's not carpentry. And I said, and I was shocked. I was like, oh, my God. I was just so caught. And he said to me, you know what? I'm going to do you the biggest favor. And by the way, Mr. Lavoy, if you're watching, this was the biggest favor anybody had ever done for me. He said, I'm going to do you the biggest favor, and you're not going to see it that way till years later, but you don't belong in this school. You're getting A's and B's in academics, and you're getting D in shop. You shouldn't be cutting wood. You should be doing academic subjects. And he walked me down to Mr. Witskell's office, my guidance counselor. They called my parents. They had a conference, and the next day I was enrolled at Lawrence High School.
Oh, wow.
And I'm so glad that he did, because I physically had no interest in climbing up on roofs and doing all that physical stuff. I was not a sports guy, and I know he probably did it just to get rid of me, but he really did. He really did
He
do
did you a
me.
favor, though.
He really did. So to find out that Joe Ferretra was doing that, and I know that there was a move on the city council a year ago or so to go after Mr. Lavoy, and I didn't know what the background was.
Retaliation. Yeah,
I didn't know what the background of it was,
retaliation.
but I really felt bad for Mr. Lavoy, and now that I know the truth, now I feel much better about the way it all ended up. Intern boy, I appreciate you sticking in with us. I hope that your boss is going to let me give you something, and please talk to him about that. He's not going to. So that at least let me buy you guys dinner or something, because intern girl had an emergency that she couldn't be here. She's okay, but she had an emergency. She couldn't be here. And we didn't know if we were going to even have a show today. And I reached out to intern boy and I said, I know this isn't your thing, but do you think you could produce the show? And he said, let me check with my boss. Yes, my boss will let me do it. He'll let me come in. And he did. So I appreciate you. I appreciate Brian Frazier, everybody here at North End of Cable Access. I appreciate you. Do you have any parting words for for the voters, for the viewers, the listeners.
I just want to thank you, everyone.
Things that are coming up. Anything good coming up you can blow up, make somebody mad at you?
No, we have, I think the first breakfast for the businesses will be on November 20th.
With Katie?
Yeah, with Katie,
Okay.
but I need to reach out to Katie, and I will let you know so we can promote that here.
Please let me know. I'm putting the November paper goes
I'll
out
let
on
you
Monday
know.
night.
I'll let you know.
So let me know this weekend. I'll make sure for no cost. I'll put it in the paper.
Thank you. Thank
and
you
we'll
very
also,
much.
I'll make an intern girl make a note, and we'll put it on the podcast as well.
Thank you. Thank you
Anything
for
else? By the way,
No,
thank your husband. He's such a good guy.
Yeah, I just want to thank you. Thank you for your support.
How he got you instead of me is just wrong in every respect.
And thank you for being in my life these 3 months. So
Aw.
I went through hell,
Aw.
and thanks to you, I made it.
Aw.
And again, thank you for the supporters and for allowing me to serve you one more time. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, and to all the candidates who ran, regardless
They all deserve credit.
Regardless the outcome, you guys
Yep.
did great.
Even David Allen Boucher here at 94.5. And even Kelsey Shabilia. Listen, I don't really like her politics. Maybe in the real world, she's a good person.
Don't you want to interview her?
I would love to, because that would be the
Yeah.
highest rated show we've had in 5 years. I would
Yeah.
have
You
her on
should
the
do
show in
that.
2
Yeah,
seconds.
that-
Listen, I would
that-
love Laurie Keegan to come in. I could have
Yeah.
a very respectful conversation with her and go back and forth. Listen, I don't know if you saw my interview with DJ Beauregard. That was a tough interview. Like, we went at it.
He was mad. I guess he was mad.
He was-
What did you do to him
He was-
before getting here?
He was not a happy guy. Listen, I wasn't happy about it the way it went either. But one of the things that I really revere, one of the things that I really care about a lot is free speech and dialogue. And, I know Charlie Kirk lost his life over this, and over the next
Sad,
few years, it's
sad.
probably going to get worse. But I really believe that people who don't see the world the same way, even if they have hostility toward each other, still need to sit down and find a respectful way to
I
communicate
agree.
their ideas. Because if she came on here, half the people watching would hate me and would be rooting for her to kick my ass. And the other half of the people would be rooting for me to kick her ass. But everybody at home would learn something. And so,
I agree.
So if her or Kelsey or Dan Shabilia or any of the people that I've worked against that we've been political enemies, I don't make anything personal, but any political enemies, they would have come on the show, I'd have them on in a second. Because literally everybody benefits from that. Like if Mike Samad called me after the show and said, I'm sick of your shit, Tom. I want airtime. I'm coming on your show, and I want to tell everybody what an asshole you are. Open door policy. I'd let him come on and say whatever he wanted. So,
Yeah, so
thank you.
professional.
Thank you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, thank you. Thank you for your support one more time.
I apologize to everybody who thought I'd be off the air by now, who are blowing up my phone and my DMs on Facebook. I will get back to all of you in a few minutes. You can roll up Melvin Taylor if you can. And I'm going to thank our sponsors. By the way, thank you to all of the city council candidates in Methuen, as well as Luz Robles in Lawrence, for sponsoring the podcast throughout the campaign. I really appreciate that. It helped us put an extra money aside for the 2-hour debate we had in the at-large race for the Methuen School Committee race. Let's take our sponsors. Century 21, McLennan Real Estate, the Zany Pesh, come closer to Patricia. The Zany Pesh Law Office, On-the-Go Notary, Marston and Son Construction, EIS, Investigation and Gun Trading. I bet you Joe Salmon was really happy about a lot of these races. I really got to get him on. I don't care what anybody says. Tomo and Shaken Seafood, Clear Path for Veterans New England, AFC Urgent Care, Pleasant Valley, the landscaping contractors, David Consoli, who missed the bash this year, Prime Insurance, the Doug Mercurio Law Office, W3ON website design, Lambert and Randone, a free shout out to them, and of course JG's Ice Cream. We love the Jafrida brothers, and sounds like Melvin Taylor said you got to go home, so go home already.